You're listening to the Talking Headways Podcast Network. This is Talking Headways, a weekly podcast about sustainable transportation and urban design. I'm Jeff Wood. This week we're joined once again by Yonah Freemark. In part 2, we talk about our predictions from last year and what we got right and wrong on high-speed rail and transportation funding. Then we make new ones for the coming year that include Seattle and Mexico. Stay with us. Today's podcast is brought to you by our super amazing and kind Patreon supporters. We appreciate you all keeping this show and Mondays at the Overhead Wire going. To join this merry band of subway crayonistas and city smarties, go to patreon.com/theoverheadwire. $2 a month gets you some stickers and a handwritten note sent with a cool train station stamp. $10 a month gets you one of our transportation scars. And if you want to just give a single dollar a month, you'll be able to get the podcast with 0 outside ads or podcast recommendations in Patreon. We'll leave information in the show notes about how to do it and how to get it into your podcatcher. We've also recently put up some bonus material and have weekly free posts from our newsletter intro, so check it out if you haven't already. And speaking of scarves, it's still winter, so get your heavyweight bus or bike scarves. You definitely need one for you, your friends, your colleagues, and for the anti-bus activists you just want to frustrate. If you want to get one of the bus or bike scarves or the lightweight bike scarf for hot climates, visit theoverheadwire.com or support us on Patreon. There are many other ways to support the show, including buying books from the bookshop site, either the books from the authors we interview or any book you like. bookshop.org/shop/theoverheadwire. And find our Cars Are Cholesterol merch at bit.ly/carsarecholesterol. And for anything else, including the Town Planning and Practice audiobook that plays like a podcast, visit theoverheadwire.com. You can also get that podcast from Libby at your public library. And finally, definitely sign up for the now 20-year-old daily newsletter at theoverheadwire.com, established in 2006, and our over 100,000 item link archive tagged by topic and city. We'll leave a YouTube explainer video in the show notes for that one as well. Or you can just keep listening and enjoying the show. We appreciate that too. You can find us mostly on Blue Sky and Mastodon, sometimes on Threads, Instagram, Flickr, YouTube, Substack, and LinkedIn if you want to connect, usually at the Overhead Wire, but with Flickr, it's called Transit Nerds. We've got some great stuff coming up in our 13th year of the podcast, so keep on listening for announcements. But for now, just enjoy the show. Okay, prediction time.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite discussions every year that we have. And we have a lot of fun. But as we mentioned last year, we don't want to discount what's going on around us, especially when it comes to policies related to transportation and the environment. Last year, we were talking about research getting gutted by TRB, and sadly, that hasn't ended. A number of the university transportation centers were killed, including one that I was on the advisory board of, the Center for Equitable Transit-Oriented Communities. Today, Trump cut the endangerment finding. You know, obviously, that's going to be litigated, but it's another thing just kind of hacking away. But the time this episode comes out, even more crazy stuff could have happened. I don't know. So I don't want to take that lightly. But we're very human, both Yonah and I, and we can't be serious all the time, or else, you know, life wouldn't be really worth living. So I do want to, you know, take that into mind as we have these kind of fun discussions about what we discussed last year and then what we're going to predict for next year.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the first one. My first prediction, I'm just going off of the list of what we did last year. So we kind of went through this. My first prediction was that the MTA would crush the feds in their congestion pricing lawsuit. I said this will win all day, every day in court, and the road rules secretary can pound sand. And you said I would be wrong, but no. I think I'm correct. I think
You won.
Yeah, you said I was wrong, but I think I was correct this time because they continue to just throw stuff at the wall and it's not sticking.
Yeah, I hope you continue to be right, but for now, it's definitely
It's been solid, right? And the benefits have been, we've had a year. We had Danny Pearlstein on the show to talk about the year anniversary of congestion pricing and some of the activism that went into that. We're going to have some other folks come on soon to talk about it too from the MTA, hopefully. But yeah, it's just such a big win. And so I'm glad that that's going on. So your first one, your prediction was that another city in the United States is going to have a mayor announce a congestion pricing plan.
Oh no, I'm just failing out.
No. These are good. I love these. I love these because I think it's positive. You thought it might be either Seattle, San Francisco, Chicago, or Boston, or maybe LA. And so I actually looked up to see if anybody said anything. And it says Mumbai is looking to do congestion pricing. It looks like New Zealand passed a thing in late 2025 to do a scheme. And then Jacob Wasserman in the LA Times said that LA should price the airport. She priced the airport.
Yes.
So
the airport loop at LAX is horrible.
Yeah.
They should definitely price it.
So that's what he was saying is they should price the loop instead of building a $6 million interchange or whatever it is they're going to do. And then the Massachusetts Legislature's Transportation Committee, they brought it up in 2025, and leaders in Boston were talking about it just this last week, I believe. So it's talked about, but it hasn't been announced.
No, I failed out. It's going to be interesting to see, in the LA mayor's race, Ramon appears to be sort of following in Mamdani's footsteps. And then you have Katie Wilson in Seattle also. And it's going to be interesting to see, are they going to say, okay, well, if New York's doing it and we like Mamdani, are we going to do the same thing? I don't know.
I don't know. Well, Katie's already done a couple of things. I mean, she's already trying to fix the Mercer mess and some of the bus lanes there and stuff like that. And, she was a transit advocate. Yeah. That was her thing. So I'm looking forward to it. Maybe Seattle is the horse to bet on. And Roger Ruddick at Streetsblog SF floated it a couple weeks ago as well. So, it's in the conversation. Okay, so Yonah number 2, this is your second prediction. New York legislators are going to come up with a new tax source to support the MTA's capital plan. And I'm saying this in part because I think the congestion pricing, as I said before, is going to fail in the courts.
Yeah.
But even if it does succeed, I think that the legislature is going to pass some new funding package that's going to involve a new tax source for the MTA. I wish it would be an increase in the state gas tax. I don't think that happened.
They did not increase the state gas tax.
I don't think that happened.
No, I don't think that absolutely not.
So,
hey, New York State Legislature, if you're listening, pass a gas tax increase now.
They do it. Just so Yonah can get a point, if nothing else, right?
New York, I will say it again, New York State has too low of a gas tax compared to the surrounding states. This is a key opportunity for the state to raise new revenues for transportation. I recently saw that in Buffalo, they're very seriously considering expanding the light rail system to the north to serve the university. It would cost them $2 billion. How are they going to pay for that? I can tell you how. They're going to do it with a gas tax increase. So they need to do it.
Okay. Is this for next year? Is this next year's prediction?
Sure. This
already?
Is can I
Yeah, so let's do for next year. Buffalo is going to use the state gas tax that was approved to build their light rail expansion.
Yes.
Okay. This is my number 2. California will figure out a new funding mechanism for speeding up high-speed rail, and the fact that it's completed all of its environmental clearances will make it a candidate for new sources of funding. I'd say I was correct on that because they actually changed the cap and trade program to guarantee that the California high-speed rail line would get, for the next 20 years, will get $1 billion a year. And then they're going to be able to bond against that and then also bring in partners to do public-private partnerships. That's the plan anyways. So I think I got that right. Is that a plus one?
I think it's incredible. I mean, okay. Do you think they're going to ink a deal with a private partner soon? Because it's coming up. When is the Central Valley part of it going to open? 2030?
Something like that. I think maybe a little bit after that. They're going to lay tracks soon. Actually, they're going to start laying tracks soon. So
yes, they have to start finding this private partner. I'm interested.
A partner. So we'll see. The thing I'm wondering about is how they form the partnership so that they can build the tunnel between Gilroy and the Central Valley, or between Burbank and the Antelope Valley, or the connection that makes it to Bakersfield. So that's my question: is which one is the first one to go in terms of building the section that's actually going to connect the Central Valley with a major destination like San Francisco or Los Angeles?
Yeah, it's interesting, especially, I don't know, there's something very strange happening in California with regard to the whole Brightline West project of connecting Rancho Cucamonga to Las Vegas. It's like something has gone wrong there insofar as there is no real plan to connect that line to actual, the main population centers of LA. And I don't know why that is not being. I guess the answer is because it's so expensive to figure out how to make that connection. But it seems like a major gap, no?
Eventually there's going to be a Y that connects the California high-speed rail, right? That's the plan.
Yeah, but it requires you to go from Bakersfield to LA, right?
Yeah, so you had to get that. But eventually that's, I think, the idea. And so you can run lines from LA to Las Vegas, or San Francisco to Las Vegas, or you can run from San Francisco to LA. I just don't know. I guess I get why people would use it now. You drive out there to the desert, park your car, and then you take the high-speed rail so you don't have to drive the rest of the way. I guess
that's not bad.
It's kind of like the idea between the Houston and Dallas line. Then we're going to park outside of the loop in Houston. I was really confused by that. And it was because of cost. So that's kind of a negative of some of these private plans, is that they don't want to shoulder the costs of that major, investment to actually get to the population center, which would actually drive their ridership. And so I think that's a big problem.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had a friend that I went to high school with who was raising money for Hyperloop, and I've told the story maybe a couple times. And he called me into his office, his investment office or whatever it was, and he was like, "Hey, what do you think of this project?" And I was like, "It's not good for a number of reasons, but the main reason is that how are you going to get it from city to city? You're not going to get into the center of the city without spending a lot of money." And they were like, whatever. And I was like, well, it's dead now, so...
I mean, yeah. Is there a single? What happened to all those? Those companies got created around the Hyperloop. Yeah. Yet again, Elon Musk, poisoning the conversation.
Disappeared into the ether, and it was proven. Paris Marx found it. There was a chapter in his biography that said the reason why he did that was to kill high-speed rail. The reason why he drew it out on that napkin was to kill high-speed rail in California.
It's crazy.
So it's in the book. Okay, so. My wild prediction was that it would be a cap and trade monies from different countries and states like California that would fund high-speed rail. So that didn't happen. There's no cap and trade money coming from like China or from the Cascadia or anything like that. Maybe in the future, who knows? I wrote down here, as you predicted, the administration was able to claw back money and California didn't fight it because there were so many fights that were had. So basically they took that $3 billion or whatever it was and they're going to repurpose it to something horrible. But whatever, we stop fighting it and we'll just raise our own money because the federal government, as I think it was Rob Bonta said, is not a reliable partner. At the moment, anyways. At the moment, things can change. Okay, so Yonah's number 3. I keep thinking of the Canada high-speed rail project because I just spoke with somebody who was involved in that project. I asked you if you had some insider trading last year, and you said you denied it. It's a moderate level prediction that might have seemed crazy like a month ago, but because of the Trump backlash, it might be coming back. I think that the Liberals are going to win the election, which they did, and I think they're going to double down on getting the project moving forward. And I think one of the things we'll see is an announcement that the project will move forward more quickly than the 5 years before construction, which is what they initially announced.
I don't know about the last part of it.
So I'm predicting that the new government is going to announce this, going to speed it up, and also they're going to advance the project that has been proposed between Calgary and Edmonton as a second high-speed rail project. So
has not been.
That's not happening.
Okay,
but
there was a lot of predictions there.
I know, but I'm going to take the gist of it. I'm going to give it to you because basically the Liberals did win. And they did say that they're going to speed this project. And so there have been consultations happening. They selected a general route. They're pushing it forward. They're doing public consultations. They want 72 trains a day. Yep. And so, they're going forward with it.
Yeah.
I know there's some Canadians that have been a little bit worried about what's going to happen or whether it's actually going to work, but it seems like it's a good idea.
It's certainly advancing a lot more quickly than anything in the U.S. as far as I can tell.
Yeah, yes. Terrace Gresco, who wrote the book Strap Hanger, he has a blog called High Speed where he's talking about a lot of this stuff. RM Transit, Reese Martin has been talking about this too. So if you want some expertise on some of the Canadians going on, I would suggest those two as sources of information. Okay, so I'm giving you a point for that.
Sweet. Yes.
My next prediction is more governors in blue states will start flexing highway monies to pay for transit service, as long as they don't decide that you can't do that anymore. I
don't think that happened.
I don't think that other governors have done it, though they should. Yeah, so I don't think that's happened.
I don't think it's happened, and I will say this: I've heard rumblings that the reason why it has not happened more frequently is that they're worried that the federal DOT will go out of its way to prevent that flexing from happening.
I think I've seen that in some articles or something. I can't remember where it was. I was trying to look for it last night, but I couldn't find it. But I think I've seen that where they're like, we're going to stop you from flexing money to transit. So they probably have tried to, curtail that, even though like that was Ice-T in the 1990s. That was the first time you could actually flex money for different things. They had the CMAQ money and a bunch of other stuff where you could take highway money and move it to transit. But the first time really anybody did it with some vigor was when Josh Shapiro did it. So
right. I mean, it's frankly very disappointing because that was supposed to be a mechanism for states to act differently than the federal government to take advantage of the supposed federal structure of the United States, but under the Trump administration, they're sort of throwing that away.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that in a second because I think there's also some good news in that respect too. So your next prediction is one of the things I'm expecting is that the competitive parts of the infrastructure law, which were 20% of the transportation spending back in 2021, I predict that they're going to get rid of it entirely.
Oh.
There will be no competitive grants. My prediction is that they're just going to entirely go to formula, and it's going to maintain the state focus on the formula today, unfortunately.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know why I said that given the timing, because this would be something that would be decided by Congress in a new infrastructure law, which has not been sort of passed yet.
I mean, they've been doing all kinds of crazy crap, so you could.
I mean, what is true is that they've rescinded a lot of those discretionary programs. Yeah. I mean, the Trump administration got Congress to pass elimination of the Neighborhood Access and Equity Program, which was the Reconnecting Communities program, which was a discretionary grant program. As I said before, they have been not funding new transit projects through the discretionary transit grant program. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it hasn't been Congress standing in the way, but they certainly haven't stopped the Trump administration from trying to kill some of this stuff.
Not yet. So I knew I saw an article on this recently, and I can't remember what article it was, but I found it last night. I didn't write down the source. Yeah. Actually, it was E&E News. It was Politico's E&E News. And then Russell McMurray, after TRB, the commissioner of the Georgia Department of Transportation, president of AASHTO, said, we need to sort of get back to basics. And so the states are pushing to preserve the federal government's top-line funding for roads, bridges, transit, railroads in the next transportation bill, but they are urging Washington policymakers to shift the funds into long-established formulas rather than discretionary grants, specifically said in E&E News. So they're going to try what you said, but they're going to wait probably, like you said, until the bill. But they're on record as saying that's what they want to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you like a half a point for this because they're
okay.
trying. You know, the Trump administration didn't do it yet. No. They're trying. They're going to try to do it though. And I feel like this is what Sam Graves, who's the head of the infrastructure committee, has said, like, go back to basics. They've said this all. I think that they've been told to say this a million times. But what basics means to them is more road funding, right?
Right.
Just building more roads and stuff. And it's not anything to do with building more transit and railroads and those other things. It's actually just let's build more roads.
Yeah. And, you know, I think just to stand on my little soapbox for a second, it's worth saying over and over again that federal transportation dollars are not user fees. Only about 2/3 of money the federal government spends on transportation actually comes from the user fee, and that is rapidly declining.
Right.
It's going to be less than half soon, and we need to stop treating the program as if it's like user fee for highways, because it's not what it is.
No, it's not. They've been making transfers for a long time. I mean, you're talking about road user charges and a whole bunch of other stuff, but how do you think they're going to, fund the program? Because at some point, with all the positivity that we've set out today coming from the electrification of transportation, it's going to go that direction. And so you can't rely on the gas tax forever.
Yeah. Although, unfortunately, the U.S.'s electric vehicle share of new cars is going down because of everything that's happening. But I agree with you in general. I think there's no appetite in Congress at all to pass a gas tax increase. There is appetite to impose a fee on electric vehicles, but that will raise very little money.
Yeah.
So Congress is almost definitely going to just throw money at the Highway Trust Fund from the general fund, which is basically just income tax revenue.
Yeah. Related to your prediction, like there is a bill out this week that wants to give regions more money. Did you see this? It was in Streetsblog a couple of days ago. Kia reported on it. And I think the folks at Brookings have been pushing this. It sounds like something Adi was talking about, Adi Tomer. But basically there's a bill out there that says like, and I think this was curbed directly from a Brookings report, it was like 18% of the roads or 16% of the money goes to MPOs when they have like 75% of the roads or something like that. And so state DOTs have basically been hoarding money. And so there's a bipartisan bill that would basically give more formula grants to regions instead of just to the state DOTs. They give it to the MPOs directly. And so that's interesting. And that's a positive. That's totally against this other thing, like back to basics. But it's a basic in a different way, I guess, which is, support the places where the roads are, not just where the highway departments want them to go or want to spend money on.
Right.
Okay, this is your last one. This is the last one of last year. The fantastical argument that you made.
Oh, no.
My wild thing is that the Detroit region will finally come together with an actual regional transit plan and the funding to create a great transit network of service that serves not only Wayne County, but the surrounding counties.
Oh, what is wrong? What is wrong with the Detroit region? Like, come on, guys.
I don't know. They should have done it by now, right? I mean, they should have done it by now.
Unbelievable.
They've been talking about it for a while. It's not like it hasn't been brought up. There was an item yesterday in their NPR station, actually, of their general manager, executive director of the transit agency, talking about a report that was just released on how they're behind. So this report is maybe laying the groundwork for a larger discussion, maybe. I mean, that's the best thing I could come up with. But this is your fantastical one, so you didn't have much hope for this one.
I mean, yeah.
If it's fantastic, if it's fantastical, it's probably like a long shot.
That's right.
One of these years we'll hit one of these fantastical ones. Yeah, so they're thinking about it still, but it's not quite there yet. But Detroit, come on, get on it. Okay, so next year's predictions. We got to make some predictions for next year.
Oh, yes. Great.
And so I don't know if you put together a few. I'll let you go first if you'd like to.
I have a prediction.
Okay.
Okay, so Seattle's about to open. We talked a little bit about it, but they're about to open their new light rail line across Lake Washington from Bellevue to Seattle.
Okay.
And this is going to sort of be a really big change for their light rail network. And so my prediction is that Seattle will have the highest daily ridership of light rail of any city in the country by the end of the year.
Oh, I like that. Biggest light rail ridership.
Yeah. Why not?
I mean, it makes sense. Like, getting from downtown to the University of Washington is a breeze now, and going across the lake is going to be easy. Bellevue, Redmond, the Bell Red corridor, it's going to be huge and poppin', right?
That's right.
I'll take that. That's good.
Okay.
That's good. That's a good one. Okay. My number one is there will be no free buses in New York, but there will be more bus lanes.
Okay. So you're expecting that there will be a completed bus lane, one bus lane, multiple lanes by the end of the year, by end of 2026.
Yeah, let's make it multiple lanes by the end of 2026. I mean, if I'm being honest, I'll think it's just like the plans for more lanes by the end of 2026, knowing how fast these things go. But I like that. Yeah, let's do it. They'll build at least two bus rapid transit lines, and maybe they're the ones that are already in the McGinnis one that the Adams administration got in trouble for. That one could be put on the table back really quick, right? Isn't that a bus rapid transit lane?
Yes.
Or is that just like
yeah, I think so. Yes.
So it might be possible that they already might have some in the hopper that they're just gonna push forward. So that's mine. Is no free buses, but we'll have bus lanes.
I love it. Yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful about that as well. I think, frankly, the people in the New York City mayor's office really want to get that stuff done. So yeah, let's hope that they actually start building something by the end of the year. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right, your turn.
Okay, my prediction is about Mexico Intercity Rail.
Okay.
So it hasn't been talked about too much.
A little bit. Yeah.
Canada,
in our circles.
Yeah. I mean, Canada has been doing all this intercity rail stuff with their new high-speed rail line, but Mexico has been doing lots of cool stuff. They have the new Maya train. They have this interoceanic train, and they've started to build some trains coming out from Mexico City. And I'm going to predict that they're going to make an announcement that they're going to plan a high-speed rail corridor from Mexico City to Guadalajara by the end of the year. So that's my prediction.
All right. I like that. Claudia Sheinbaum, the president, before with the previous president and her, I feel like at the beginning of her presidency, there was, crayoning all over the place. And maps coming out about what the system would look like and what they wanted to see. So I like that prediction. That's a good one. Definitely is possible to happen. Okay, my next one is the Bay Area will pass its ballot measure to fund transit in the region in November. So
I sure hope so, because otherwise it seems like it's going to be terrible, right?
Bart says they're going to close stations, and then they're going to close the system in 2 years or something after if this doesn't pass. It doesn't sound good at all. I think we need to pass this for the region. It's not just Bart, but Muni and AC Transit and Samtrans and all the 27 transit agencies in the region, MTC. And, we're doing pretty well right now. I mean, Bart's not, it's obviously not coming back as fast as like the New York City subway, but it's more of a commuter network. Yeah. But Muni has been doing pretty well. We've been, had good service. I feel like it's packed on some of the lines. Like some of the lines that I ride anyways, they're actually more full now because they've got good service than they had before the pandemic. And so the 22, the 24, the Van Ness line that has the bus rapid transit sections on it, like those are actually really doing well. So I think we're doing pretty well, hopefully. And then also I saw an article recently that said VTA was able to use AI and their traffic signals to speed up their service 20%. So travel time increases. It's really good. So that's my prediction, is that we'll pass the ballot measure.
Okay. Well, I support that prediction. Seems like a pretty good year for that prediction. I don't know. I mean, honestly, if I were a local or state agency that wanted to get funding for transit, I would try to put something on the ballot in 2026 because the electorate this year is going to hate Trump. Mm-hmm. It's going to be pretty progressive, I would suspect. And this is an opportunity to get some big things passed. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen much announcements about, other than the Bay Area referendum. Why aren't other places trying to put things forward? So maybe that should be my prediction, that another major city will put forward a major referendum for transit funding this year.
Okay. That sounds good.
Got to figure out which one it is.
We should check in with an organization that does. It used to be with APTA, but I think they're somewhere else.
Center for
Transportation Excellence, CFTE.
Something like that.
Is that right? Yeah, they do all the ballot measures. They see whether they passed or not. Usually it's like 85% positive rate or something like that.
Yeah.
They usually do. Okay. And so my third one, I don't know if I have a fantastical one this year. I wasn't feeling very positive, I guess, when I was doing this recently. But my third one is an international prediction. I predict that China will slow down on its high-speed rail and intercity rail and metro expansion due to the economy and economic headwinds that are going.
That's the opposite of fantastical, but I think I agree with you. Also, there's some limits. I mean, if you look at the networks they've built already, you start to ask, wait, what else is there? If you guys, is there room for more lines? I don't know.
I think there's room, but I don't know, because you can connect some of the smaller cities, but there's no big connections to be made anymore, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the ridership is already insane. Just the numbers are wild. And, that suggests the system is being well used. So yeah, maybe it's a good thing for them to sort of slow down and just operate it effectively.
There's been fights in like the South China Morning Post. Usually this is where you can hear kind of outside news that doesn't get outside of the country. But there's been fights about whether the high-speed rail network is at, I mentioned this earlier, but is at its peak, and whether there's a kind of argument that we always have here in the United States, which is like, is this a public good, or is it, should we be...
Oh, like in terms of cost?
Yes. Is it a public good? How much should we be subsidizing this now that the network's built out? Should we like try to figure out how to make it more profitable, or at least pay for itself, quote unquote, pay for itself, which is always, to my mind, is a stupid conversation. But some people are having it there about whether, because I think they're losing money on a lot of routes that they built, even though there's a big benefit, in terms of money. You can always calculate these cost benefit analyses in ridiculous ways, but I think we always, and maybe they're doing it too, is like underestimate the actual benefits of these systems.
It's interesting. I wasn't going to make this one of my predictions, but I was thinking about something that seems to be growing in China as a theme, which is they've been sort of putting together these light metro sort of small scale projects that are being done by BYD, the electric car company, and others. These are sort of like these small scale metros that I think they just opened one in Xi'an. If I'm looking at my map right now to see if I can find it. Yeah. So essentially these are like elevated, cheap projects that they can invest in to serve neighborhoods that don't deserve a metro line. And it's going to be interesting to see if more projects like that are funded in China over the next year or so, as sort of like a next step for their metro investment.
I feel like they don't do a lot of tramways and stuff. It hasn't really been a discussion. And actually, some of the ones that they have built haven't planned out. Like I know that there's a dead one in Zhuhai. It used to be there, but that's not there anymore. The tracks are still there. The stations are still there, but they don't run service on it anymore. They just stopped it. So, and then, Macau is doing like the light metro thing where they're like doing these elevated automated vehicles, kind of like what they do in, it's almost like a people mover more than a metro, actually.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah. And I think in China, they know how to do those pretty cheaply. And so it's an interesting, different approach. But, one thing that is funny about China is that in some ways it has characteristics of like the Wild West, in that it's easier to sort of try something out and build something and then have it fail a few years later.
Yeah.
I am not entirely sure why that is, but
maybe like during the electric railroad boom of the late 1800s, where all these cities
that's what I was thinking.
Got a lot of bond money and then they died a death and then they couldn't pay back their bondholders and got into big trouble and caused a lot of court cases to decide who was getting paid and who was not back in the day.
Okay, but I did have one more fantastical one, which is about the Reconnecting Communities program. So, I think the federal government is not going to step in to fund these types of improvements, decking over highways, et cetera. But my fantastical hope is that in Philadelphia and Atlanta, they're going to assemble enough city and state money to do the projects that they want to do. So Philadelphia, Chinatown, and Atlanta, the Stitch, without federal dollars.
Okay. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
I think it'd be hard because it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
But let's see. We'll see what happens next year. Awesome. Well, that is it for our predictions this year. Yonah, where can folks find out more about Transit Explorer and your work and everything that you're doing?
Well, I recommend that folks follow me on Blue Sky at YonahFreemark.com, which is sort of a weird address, but that's the Blue Sky address. You can also check out my work at the Transport Politic and my professional work at urban.org, which is the Urban Institute.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Yonah, for joining us again this year, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
And thanks for joining us. The Talking Headways podcast is a project of the Overhead Wire and appears first at Streetsblog USA. Thanks to our generous Patreon supporters who support this show and Mondays at the Overhead Wire. You can support the show as always by going to patreon.com/theoverheadwire. Sign up for our almost 20-year-old newsletter as well by visiting theoverheadwire.com or check out the show notes for merch or other opportunities to connect. Follow along using your podcatcher of choice, but if you can't find it there, you can always find it at its original home at usa.streetsblog.org. We'll see you next time at Talking Headways. Hey everybody, we're past the main credits. Here we are at the end of the show. But I do want to give a shout out to some of our $10 a month or more Patreon supporters who've been helping the show along with your very, very generous support. If you've made it this far, you're probably a really big listener and reader. We really appreciate that. When I get new supporters, I'll update this section, so I hope that happens often. First names only, but big thanks to Andrew, Ben, Derek, Gabrielle, Glenn, Greg, James, Jeremy, Jim, Joseph, Catherine, Mao, Marcus, Matthew, Mike, Nicholas, Abraham, Oliver, Steve, Abby, Ed, Matthew, and recently added Sylvia. Everybody who listens to this show and reads the newsletter is much, much appreciated. I just wanted to give our biggest supporters a little extra love and recognition. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.